Yeah, we can hear you.
Word. I love Apple's security recording in progress. Makes me feel nice. Screw you, Android people. Welcome back, boys. We took a little break there. I went to New Orleans. Reek went down to Colombia. Jason probably went to Guyana or something, I'm sure. Or at least he will at some point in the future. Hashtag Scott. But welcome back. It's another Crackbacks here. We're in the thick of things. There's stuff going on here. We got playoffs going. We got movement. We got things at my favorite team happening. Tell me what's up. So over the weekend, what did you do? Let's dive right into the playoffs, because at the present second, what's going on right now is that the Miami Heat are getting mollywopped in that pull behind Alabama shed. Yeah, they're getting their ass kicked at the present second. So let's just jump right into the playoffs here and tell me who's in trouble right off the bat, other than Miami, because they were an underdog to begin with. Who's in trouble?
The Lakers, because they were actually the favorite in this series somehow. So since they're the favorite, by the time I think they're going to be in trouble, unless Chris Paul had severe nerve damage that he can't use his right hand for the rest of the series. It's the Lakers to me.
It's the best nickname that CP3 ever had. It was, and I'm going to steal this from Dan Lebitard. It was CP 3 to 6 weeks. He's always injured, man. Yep. He's always injured, which is why he's not going to win a ring as a frontline player. He's going to end up, if he gets a ring, he's going to get it like how Gary Payton got his ring with the Heat.
Or Jason Kidd with the Mavericks.
Kind of, you're playing some mop-up minutes, or you're maybe playing some, backup minutes here and there. Where you're part of the team. You're just not the star anymore because He can't stay healthy. There's always something weird. The injury, he barely got brushed up against Cam Johnson. And I guess it must have compressed the shoulder or whatever, but it wasn't even a big collision.
Yeah,
very, very strange. I agree with you. The Lakers in a little bit of trouble. I'm not really sold on Phoenix yet because I am worried about CP3. I'll hold mine for a second. Jason, who's in trouble in the NBA?
I don't know what you guys think about Clippers. They don't look at two altogether. I mean, come playoff time,
that's a good choice.
Playoff Paul George.
Pandemic
I don't know what's happening. Yeah. I'm not sure what to tell you guys. I mean, great defensive team, carry their way. I think they finished at the 4th or 5th seed. Clippers got it together. I think Lou is doing a good job. I would say Kawhi can't do it all. Do you guys agree?
I mean, I saw another funny name. Real quick, Joel. I saw another funny name.
I hope that they're an early exit, and then Kawhi just changed his coast. Enrique doesn't agree with me on that one, but I love Kawhi. I don't. Absolutely love. Oh, can you imagine a defensive?
He's a Tibbs player. He's a Tibbs player for sure.
That's why a defensive robot that Tibbs had a chance to mold. Kawhi, it would be a beautiful thing to watch. So yes, hopefully the Clippers get knocked out early. I'm staying out west, where all the teams that we're out here saying that are in trouble. I'm staying out west, and they're all different. Now, listen, if Spider Mitchell doesn't come back fast, Utah's out of there.
He comes back game 2, though.
Say it again.
I think he's supposed to come back game 2 now. They said it a little while.
Yeah, but if he's not right, all right, because coming back is one thing.
True.
But are you coming back like Willis Reed, where you're out there for, sentimental, and you hit 2 jump shots and that gives enough juice to the rest of the team for them to, to pull through? Or are you coming back because his game, if his base isn't healthy, it's all speed and leaping ability with Mitchell. I mean, he's a decent shooter, but it's all getting into the rack and, and making people miss. And that early Derrick Rose type moves is what he has. So if he can't do that, they're in big trouble. Memphis has a ton of confidence right now. They took out Steph Curry and everybody told them they couldn't do it. They've got game 1. Dylan Brooks, my favorite player right now, Shang Tsung himself, man. The dude looks like Genghis Khan in a basketball jersey. But this dude's balling. They can't stop him. Everything he was throwing up. And that happened against the last game against the Golden State as well. We might have an emerging star. He is coming up on a contract year, by the way, as well. So Dylan Brooks trying to make himself some money coming up. Memphis, tough out. Very athletic. They're finally getting healthy. Jaren Jackson, the he looks like he has a little bit of trouble reading, and his jump shot is ugly as hell, but it goes in. But he was out all year. If he was there all year, they probably not in the play, and they maybe sneak in on the back end there at 5 or 6, because the guy was a top 5 pick just a couple of years ago. Utah's in trouble. If Spider Mitchell doesn't come back and he's not semi-healthy, they just don't have the other pieces. The next man up, there is no next man up in Utah. We may see a couple of upsets, a couple of upsets out west. But the NBA playoffs, very, very interesting. Right now, let's the second half of the Heat game just started. They're still down a quarter. They're still down 25.
And honestly, if you think about it, I mean, you could really make a case for all of them, because Denver does not have a guy to almost even out Dame scoring in the backcourt anymore. No. I mean, and Jamal Murray became a different player.
He's got a torn ACL and he's sitting on the sideline.
True.
Yeah.
And he was a good player in the regular season, maybe borderline all-star. I think he made the all-star team once now. Like what, 2 years ago? I don't recall. But either way, yeah. I think 2 years ago he was an all-star, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
And if not, no one would argue with you that he's a borderline all-star, if not a bona fide all-star player. He's
exactly.
Good.
But he gets better in the postseason. So he's a notch above that come postseason time. So, he's still not as good as Dame, but like whenever Dame drops 50 on you, Jamal Murray will give him a 35 piece at least, which that's all they really need with all the other scoring they got around in Denver.
Not scared of the moment either. To take the big shot. I like Jamal Murray. It sucked that he went down because Denver's fun to watch. Denver also has, here's the thing that might even out and at least get him out of the first round. That altitude is another whole nother story.
But Melo's used to that, though.
This is true. But even in the NFL, Ryan Clark, he's got sickle cell. When the Steelers, a couple times they had to play in Denver, he didn't even travel because the altitude, really messes with the condition. So they get an extra kind of boost. Now, yes, it's less in the playoffs because you got those days off in between, and the guys, the teams have been there and they kind of acclimate to the altitude. But they'll sneak at least 2 of the games at home out. I think they'll get out of the first round. Although, I mean, flip of the coin for any of them out west.
Right.
1 through all 4. You can see the underdog. The NBA's smiling right now. They still got LeBron in there, and they have chances for upsets all over the place. In the East, it's probably gonna go. It's gonna be chalk. We got the flip of a coin. We got 2 Knicks fans on here, so we would hope that the Knicks would be favored. But that's a coin flip. Exactly. Yesterday's game is exactly what we're going to expect that entire series.
Yeah, back and close forth, games
down to the last
time.
possession.
Yeah, I think
if we
that'll
get
be the best series
out of there. Go ahead.
I said that'll be the best series of the first round, definitely for the East. I mean,
that's
I expect Bucks to beat the Heat. Obviously, Nets are favorite Philly, so I mean that's pretty much the best. I think that'll go the full 7 games.
Now the Nets and Boston will have close games, but the series will be short.
Right, I think that's a sweep.
But they won't be any blowouts, is what I'm saying. They'll be 8-point victories, 7-point victories.
Yeah,
they'll be entertaining games, but it's going to be a real short series. The New York, there's some news coming out of New York now that might change the fortunes of this one here. I've been complaining on social media, on here, to anyone who will listen to me, that Elfrid Payton needs to go, and I've been complaining for months. This isn't something people finally. I was getting yelled at on Facebook. Finally coming around that Elfrid Payton needs to get benched. We're starting every game in a 6-point hole, in an 8-point hole. That Rose has to come in, and he fights us back. But instead of being up by 2 points after Rose comes in, if we were tied or maybe up by 2, now we're up by double digits. So finally, there's some word that Tibbs may go away from Elfrid Payton. Now, didn't say if he was going to start Rose or if he wants to keep Rose coming off of the bench. You're going to start Alec Burks at point guard. He's been playing a lot of point. You start Ntilikina. The ball's in Randall and RJ's hands anyway, most of the time. He needs to go. Elfrid Payton's holding the Knicks back. We'd be up to 1-0 right now with a kind of a comfortable 8-10-point victory if Elfrid Payton never stepped on the court yesterday. The other thing with that is, and agreed with almost every move that Tibbs has made. I didn't want to start quickly, all those things there, but he's stuck with Randall in isolations for too long in the fourth quarter on a night that he didn't have it going. If he's got it going, it's one thing, but you did have two guys that did have it going. Alec Burks was absolutely smoking last night. And from the first floater, Manuel quickly came in. That first floater left his hand and it went through the rim clean. It didn't touch anything. And I said to myself, Quickly's going to have it going tonight. And he didn't get enough touches yesterday. So that's the one thing that I really complain at Tibbs a little bit, that he won't veer off of the script that he has when he has somebody that's cooking. They should have had a pick and roll with the ball in Quickly's hands, getting for a floater, or if they go underneath the screen, shoot the three over the top. The Knicks, I do still think, will come out of that series. And so, it was a close game yesterday. They had a great game out of their superstar. The Knicks had nothing out of their stars, and it was only a 2-point victory. Now, granted, people say, oh, Alec Burks, this, that, and the other. Alec Burks has been doing that for the last 2 or 3 months. The Knicks will be fine. Philadelphia is fine. We already talked about the Nets. And right now, up 27, pretty much going to be up 2-0 against a team that they want some revenge on. Milwaukee is going to be fine. The East is boring, with the exception of New York and Atlanta. Meanwhile, the West has all the drama. So we're going to have to take naps because those 10 o'clock starts.
Yeah,
I didn't see the end of the Golden State Memphis game.
It'll be fun for a while.
Oh, yeah. Dude, man, some Cuban coffee. We have to stop at Vicky Bakery on the way home. It's going to be
first round of playoffs.
It's going to be insane. So this where the NBA here, they had some of the awards have started to come out now. Today, Jordan Clarkson got Sixth Man of the Year. I'm fine with it. Of course, pulling for D Rose, but Rose wasn't there long enough. Clarkson did it the entire year in Utah. They had the #1 record in the entire league. Because he's a very stupid haircut. He looks like a cholo that's in San Quentin or something like that. But congrats to Jordan Clarkson on the Sixth Man of the Year. One of the AP Coach of the Year went to Monty Williams. The NBA, one of the NBA writers haven't given it yet, which is still Tibbs, Quinn Snyder, and Monty Williams as well. Monty Williams, as a side note, the next time you see Monty Williams, with or without the mask, pay attention. He is slowly turning into Tony Dungy. His entire face, his skin, his ears are getting bigger. He's turning into, not right now Tony Dungy, Tampa Bay Bucks Tony Dungy, with Sean King as his quarterback. On another side note, Sean King is on FS1, and Sean King looks like he ate the old Sean King. He's like he's 300 and something pounds. His jacket couldn't fit. Sean King, get yourself together, homie. Get on a diet. Football now. Sean King was out of the league already by the time this guy came in here as an Atlanta Falcons wide receiver. But I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to say that phrase there, Atlanta Falcons wide receiver, when I'm referring to Julio Jones. I love the guy. I've got a jersey. I've got a couple of T-shirts in there. I had a sticker on the back of my old truck. Torn.
Hard to admit, wide receivers are becoming a dime a dozen. You got your replacement. He's been on the team for a couple of years. You said earlier today, Joel, he's going to be the true #1 receiver. You got Pitts there. You got a good run game. So the offense, we'll see what happens with that. But as I mentioned, love Julio Jones, still top 5 receiver in the NFL. But receivers are dime a dozen. We had 2 back-to-back great NFL drafts, wide receivers. I don't see the need to overpay for these guys, especially someone of his age, injury history. They pretty much missed the target. They should have traded him pre-draft or mid-draft. I think what's asking price right now is second rounder.
Well, no. Well, here's
the reason why
what I was reading. They were trying to get a first rounder during the draft, and they were only getting offers back for 2s. Now it seems like, at least from the Twitterverse, is saying at least the Titans may be offering a 1. So they're getting a little bit of a bidding war right now, because there are a few teams there. Think about it. All right. So Atlanta, we've been good with wide receivers, and we're very critical over the years of Thomas Dimitroff. We wish him well. He's no longer there, but he did pick wide receivers really well. Julio, obviously, he moved up and took, and also drafted Calvin Ridley. almost 1,400 yards and 9 touchdowns last year. Calvin Ridley's the truth. Also, guys that are a little down the bench, or Russell Gage is an excellent 3 or 4. The guy I can never say his name. Zacchaeus Alomade caught a 70-yard touchdown from Matt Ryan a couple of years ago. I got the fantasy points for it. So we've got a good wide receiving core. Then when you add in the tight ends, you run a 2 tight end set with Hayden Hurst and the new weapon in Kyle Pitts. It's hard to use the word expendable when you're talking about someone who's a first ballot Hall of Famer. No question, nobody's going to argue with you that he's going in on the first try. But because of his age, like you said, because of his injury history, it's not like he's an Iron Man like Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice never missed any games, other than the year that he broke his ankle with the Eagles. Terrell Owens really didn't miss any games. Julio's missed games, and Julio's missed a lot of games. And Julio's got a really big cap hit for a guy missing that amount of games. I'm sad to see him go because it looks like it's done. He's already said, he's
on Shannon Sharp's show.
Yeah,
he's on
Shannon Sharp's show. It's all over Instagram and everything now. I'm out of there. So I wish him well. He'll be my second favorite Falcon of all time. Number 1's Dion. But it's time, dude. It's the Patriots stayed on top for years by not waiting too long. And Jason might be right. We might have waited a season too long. Maybe it should have been last year that we moved on from him.
Yep.
But we've got to move on now. We can't do it until after June 1st because of the cap hit. But it's time to go. Wish you well, Julio. Thank you for your service.
And that's what I was going to mention. And from what I've seen on the Twitterverse, that's why he wasn't traded. So if the Falcons traded Julio Jones in the off seasons, they would lose $200,000, but they would also carry $23 million in dead money. Where if they trade him after June 1st, they'd receive $15 million cap and have only $17 million dead money. So financially, unless you were going to get blown away with the offer, like a first round plus, it never made sense to trade him during the draft. Right.
We couldn't have done it that early. And I'm sure that they were just putting out feelers, just to kind of figure out what kind of, price you can get for him. But we knew that wasn't going to happen. The same thing that all these people were talking about, draft Trey Lance and trade Matt Ryan. We got 2 years before we can do that. So
with that, what I've also noticed is that a lot of the NFL people I trust on Twitter, none of them have been able to link a team to Julio Jones. There hasn't been a report of some so-and-so calling about Julio Jones, which happens a lot in the NFL, which leads me to believe to one thing: who is the most secretive team in the NFL when it comes to doing their operations? And it's the New England Patriots. They're a win now team. They're going all in. And what I can see, which is actually a scenario that also helps Atlanta too, is you want to trade him for someone that's ready to play now. You kept Matt Ryan because you think you're closer to your window than further away. So New England's been trying to trade Stephon Gilmore.
And I also don't think that Matt is as done as
he's not. He's only 36. The quarterbacks that's young.
Exactly. And he kept himself in good shape. He's actually gotten a little more athletic over the past few years. He's changed his workout regimen a little bit to get a little quicker, a little faster. So Matt's not the issue. And to be honest with you, receiver, not the issue either. He can't fucking block. That's what the problem has been since early Matt Ryan, since Michael Turner. We can't block. And the reason that Arthur Smith is the one that actually ended up with a job in Atlanta is he's the one that figures out blocking schemes. So Shanahan, that's the last time actually, to be honest, that's the last time we blocked. We did block. We had zone blocking scheme with Shanahan. That the year we went to the Super Bowl with Freeman and with Coleman, we did block that
fantasy team.
But since then, we haven't blocked worth of shit. And this is with 2 first-round picks at tackle, a first-round pick at guard, a former, up until just now, a first ballot Hall of Famer in Mac. He's gone now. We're going to be starting a second-year guy, Matt Hennessy, out of Temple. He played the last 5-6 games last year. Big, angry white dude. He should be fine at center. But we spent a lot of cap currency on the line. if we protect Matt Ryan, 2016 happens. He puts a lot of numbers up. The only thing with Matt is he needs a couple seconds. He's not Russell Wilson. He's not going to dance around back there and fling the ball off his back foot. He's obviously not Patrick Mahomes, but you give him 3.5, 4 seconds, and he will carve up whoever's on the other side there. So Arthur Smith came in for his blocking scheme, and the name escapes me right now, but our offensive line coach, he's 7,000 years old. We just need to block better. Alexa, stop. We just need to block better. That's all it is. We block better, and Matt Ryan's going to be absolutely fine. The Pitts move, take the best player out there. Because the last thing you wanted to have happen was you don't take Pitts, and you got Tony Gonzalez 2.0. You got Tony Gonzalez that runs 4.4. Yeah, so I'm all fine for it. I'm not that people are all, it's Atlanta all over again. The Falcons this, the Falcons that. Julio, we wish you well. I hope you're in a good situation. I hope you're not in the NFC. Obviously, they said that Atlanta doesn't want to do that. And I kind of don't want you in New England because Belichick's an asshole.
Right. But like if he goes to New England and you guys get Gilmore, that's a pretty good deal in my opinion. And it's going to be hard to do better because corner is a big need for you guys. Yeah. He's a Pro Bowl corner.
Yeah, that's the elephant in the room. You guys don't really have much of a defense. I know you said the O-line is important, but Matt Ryan's done what works, done better what works. So that's your gaping hole, you guys. Stuff.
Okay, yeah, and that's a fair point. Now, there's a few things here. We have obviously Jarrett and Deion Jones are all pros. Terrell had a good year last year. Both safety spots are question marks because both the guys are going to be new. We're starting a rookie at one spot.
Yeah, you guys did a good job this year drafting depth.
Yeah, and it's just, so they retooled a little bit. Here's the wild card. All right, so we drafted a kid in the second round last year, defensive end, Marlon Davidson. Mean kid. He was the one that said at the pre-draft camp that he loves football because, if I can hit somebody all I want and they can't call the cops, something to that effect. I'm probably screwing up the quote here, but he got injured last year. He didn't play at all. So he's healthy. So we're adding in, really, we have another high draft pick coming in on the defensive line at a spot that we need talent. And if he shows some of the promise that he showed on film, because, a lot of teams had him slated to go in the late first round. We got him in the early second. Atlanta's defense might be a little better than it had.
A little. I mean, you're relying on second-year players and rookies, Joe.
But no, but
remember,
it's not only. Trust me, I understand what you're saying, Jason. Yeah. And part of this is through rose-colored glasses, but the other part of it is we haven't been able to run the ball in the last couple of years. And what's the defense best friend? Running the ball.
Run game.
So. Exactly. So if you kind of add in all these things here, all right, so now we're adding in an extra pass rusher. We'll see if maybe he pans out. We're adding in a run game. Those linemen, seriously, the pedigree's there. It's hopefully this needs to be coached up a little bit. So
I'm hoping for a fantasy here from Mike Davis.
Quinn absolutely lost the team a couple of years ago after the Super Bowl. Right. Never got that team back after the Super Bowl. Mike Davis.
Look.
Panola Way Elementary School, Atlanta kid, biggest legs in the NFL, maybe bigger than Saquon's. Mike Davis that's our fantasy darling right there. We didn't draft another running back. He's going to catch a lot of passes out of the backfield. If you're listening out there, fantasy season's coming up in the next couple of months. Pencil in Mike Davis for that late first round, early second round pick. He's going to put numbers up in Atlanta.
Right. But I'm more with Jason. I think you guys are going to be good on offense. I don't think there's anything wrong with your offense. You guys got a good offensive coordinator. You really got to focus on the defense. And, you got Chris Godwin and Mike Evans in Tampa. I'm not the biggest Michael Thomas fan, but, people do consider him a top 10 wide receiver. And then in Carolina, you got Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore.
A lot of that was, I contend a lot of that was Breeze.
Well, yeah, because I don't think I don't think he's effective running routes past 7 yards, but that's another conversation for another time. And then you do have Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore in Carolina. So I think corner is a big time need for you guys. And if you guys can get a corner from the Julio trade, it would suck to lose your probably the best player in franchise history for maybe just a second round pick. But if you can get him for a corner, that's a Pro Bowl corner that if he doesn't pan out, you don't have to even re-sign. That's a good
I
deal.
can't even
I
argue.
agree. That's worth the
I
risk.
can't even argue with that.
Your best cornerback is second year Terrell.
Yeah,
So,
you put
Yeah.
that's cornerback 2 now. You put Terrell at cornerback 2. Gilmore
And
can
they're
play
both
well
good.
with the big guys
how
like
big
Evans.
Is Gilmore? Gilmore's what, 6? Is he a bigger corner? 6
he's
foot,
6'2".
6'1", somewhere in that area.
6'2", 202.
Is he
Find that right
6'2"?
now. Stephon Gilmore is 6'1", 190. So close.
Because over 6 foot is a big.
That's a big cornerback.
Is a big corner, and
We lost you on camera.
And Terrell's a solid size corner as well. Listen, I don't hate it. I would hate that Julio. He's gonna look real weird if he does go to New England. He'll look.
No, I would hate it too. I would hate it a lot. Trust me, but that seems to be the most logical.
But you're right. But Gilmore would look great. And he's a what are you, South Carolina? He's a Southern boy, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a Southern boy. He went to University of South Carolina, South Carolina. High School.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
Grady Jarrett's a South Carolina boy as well. Absolutely. I'd be fine with that. Atlanta, we've got 3 years with Matt, and then that's it. So if we're doing something, we got to do something. Now, on every year on paper, we did good. Absolutely every year at the skill positions, they always look good. But,
we didn't make the playoffs. Defense.
Absolutely.
Stop your boy, Alvin Kamara.
Oh God, I hate him so much. Dude.
Had to drop it.
Here's what we need from Kamara. We need a couple of just off of target passes from Jameis Winston that puts Kamara into harm's way.
Hey, no matter what you look at, he's one of the most dangerous running backs in the league. You got to face him twice a year. Breeze or not, that's guys your problem. And you guys want to excel in the division. That's one of your biggest targets. You got to stop.
Well, and the safety pick. Grant was one of those. It was one of those things that we needed to get faster.
Yes.
Yeah, we needed to get faster. He's a guy that can cover. He can also come down to the box, and he likes to hit. He's one of those people that seeks out contact. He's one of those, he's got a little bit of a screw loose, which is good for a safety. You want a safety to be half crazy anyway. But yeah, every week you got to bring up Alvin Kamara. When we're actually sitting next to each other instead of on Zoom, I'm going to throw something at you when you say Alvin Kamara. Now the Saints made the playoffs. Did they make the playoffs last year? Yes, they did. The Saints made the playoffs last year. There were 2 out of the South. I do think Atlanta has a chance to make the playoffs. So they're going to have to kick somebody out. So your playoff teams, I'll break them down for you real quick here. Last year in the NFC, you had the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Green Bay, a lot of turmoil. LA Rams, a lot of movement. Saints, a lot of movement. The Washington football team, the Chicago Bears, and the Seattle Seahawks. So of those teams there, who got better? You get to pick one. Who improved the most?
Well, I thought we were going with who's missing the playoffs and who's going to replace them.
We'll do that too, but I wanted to I wanted to see off the top of your brain there, who improved the most out of those teams.
Wait, repeat the list again. Then I'm sorry.
So you got the Rams. You got the Seahawks, Tampa, Washington Football Club, and the Saints.
Oh, the Rams improved the most.
I disagree. Jason?
I know you do.
I'm going to go watch their football teams. I really like what they did in the draft. Did some pretty good moves in the offseason. Division's not that tough.
You're both wrong. They're sitting right there for you. It's a team that had absolutely everything except for one position. And the rest of the NFL let Justin Fields slide to Chicago. You know the best quarterback in Chicago history is? It's probably Jim McMahon. And if you look at Jim McMahon's numbers, they're absolute garbage. They've sat through Rex Grossman. They've sat through your boy Trubisky. They tried to bring in old Nick Foles. They finally got a dynamic quarterback. It's the Chicago Bears. That's the only reason that I asked that question, because I just wanted to give the Bears a little bit of props for doing something right for once. And the Saints are the team that got they're the ones that are going to be out, by the way, because you just said we're going to say who's going to be out of there. Jameis Winston isn't Drew Brees. That offense, Sean Payton made Drew Brees. But Drew Brees was able to run Sean Payton's offense because he's an accurate passer. I love Jameis Winston from his days at Florida State. I hate him for the two teams that he's played for in the NFL. And Jameis is good at a lot of things, but pinpoint passing, and I'm assuming algebra, are not things that Jameis Winston are good at.
I'm going to pause you right there because I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that, right? So looking at the Saints offense as a whole last year, one of the things they were missing was downfield passing because Drew Brees just didn't have the arm. I'm going to give you some numbers. Since 2016, Jameis Winston, intermediate rate, which is obviously the amount of times you're throwing in that intermediate range, which is, I believe, is like, what is like 15 to 20?
Yards.
Yeah, something like that, right? He's
Yeah,
at 33%, which is
15,
first.
10, 20 yards.
Yeah, which is first in the NFL. I'll put the graphic up later. It's first in the NFL since 2016. 10.6 air yards per attempt, also first in the NFL. And what you said about accuracy, his tight window rate is almost 20%, which is third in the NFL since he's been since 2016 when he was drafted. Passes past the six on third down first, and pass success rate 47%, which is sixth. So he's actually a lot more accurate than you're giving him credit for. He got LASIK as well. And quarterback aside, the Saints have the most complete roster in that division still. Tampa got hot at the right time, but Saints still have the best defense in the division, in my opinion. The best corners in the division, the best defensive lineman still in the division, in my opinion, is still on the Saints too. So I wouldn't be so quick to count them out.
Both of them stay. Back to the original question. I'm counting out Seattle. I'm counting in Cardinals. Really like what they did off season. That guy, David Collins, is going to be a real difference maker. Isaiah, what's his name from Clemson, is going to really have a great second year. Kyler Murray is going to have MVP type year. Obviously, DeAndre Hopkins, the addition of AJ Green. I think they added someone named Tylan Walls from Oklahoma State as well. Really like what they did this year. I'm taking Arizona to check them into the playoffs this year.
So are you also saying Seattle's fallen off completely? Is this the beginning? Was last year the beginning of the end for the Seahawks?
I don't see how they improved at all the offseason.
I agree.
Okay.
And the division's just so tough. Like they could go like what, 10 and what is that, 7
And miss playoffs,
or not, and miss the playoffs, or 9 and 8 or whatever. They're going to be a winning team, but
I don't think they're going to fall off quite yet. Russell Wilson will will them to at least an 8 and 9, because we have 17 now, so
Yeah,
9 and 8 or 8 and 9 season. Another 1 or 2 times before they really fully fall off.
Right.
Who I think's falling off out west? I have no faith in Matt Stafford. Absolutely none. He's another one, not the most accurate of passers. Yeah, the numbers may lie against me here as well with that. But the Rams,
I've shown you that graphic. They do lie right there.
I know, but the eye test. I'm going to be the old fuddy duddy here, the old ball scout. That the eye test, Matt Stafford doesn't do it for me. And the Rams, they got small receivers. And I hope that they lean on Cam Akers, so they have him in fantasy.
They will. They're going to use him like a cowbell.
But I don't see.
Rams have the second best defense in the league. I mean, Matt Stafford doesn't have to do much, Joel. I understand your point where you're coming
As
from.
long as Aaron Donald
much.
and Jalen Ramsey and the bunch are still out there, they've got a chance out west for sure. You're 100% right. This is by far, with the exception of the wide receivers, the best collection of players that Matt Stafford's ever had, but possibly the weakest receiving core that he's ever had. So everything else is better, but he has no Calvin Johnson. Do you think Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods are as good as Galladay?
They're average.
Galladay, who wasn't really available at all last year. So there's also that.
Yeah, which is true. Injuries happen when Matt Stafford's your quarterback and is throwing you into harm's way. So you can't really hold against that guy. I can't stand Matt Stafford. Anyway, out west in the NFL last year, of course, you had your AFC champion KC, the Chiefs. Let's see how long they hold on to that name. You had Buffalo, you had the Ravens, the Browns, Pittsburgh, the Titans, who are obviously going to fall off since Arthur Smith is gone, and the Colts. So first off, let's say who improved so we'll stay in the vein of what we did in the East. Who improved the most? And I know this was off the dome here, but of all those squads there, who got better?
Obviously, Cleveland Browns. Great offseason. added to offensive line as again had another great draft, beefed up David Clowney. They also drafted that guy. They got pretty much 2 first rounders. I know they got JOK second round. I forgot who they drafted first round, but that defense is just getting better and better. And like, remember, you got that Myles Garrett leading the way on that line. Like, you just need someone with a pulse to do the rest. And that's just David Clowney is gonna have a great year that no one ever saw coming because of the fact that so much pressure is being taken off him because you got Myles Garrett in the end.
I don't know if I buy that. He was drafted with JJ Watt and he was young and he still couldn't produce. So I'm not sure if I buy that. Now having this guy opposite of him is going to make him produce. I just think he's a looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane type of guy. That's he's going to look good. He's going to have all the win rates. Yeah. But he's what he is, man. He's not going to all of a sudden change as a player. And I do agree that on paper, Cleveland got better. But if you're asking me what team am I going to pick, because I think there's going to be less turnover in the AFC than the NFC this year in terms of going to the playoffs. And the team that I'm going to pick is going to be the Browns, because I agree they look better on paper. They got better in the offseason, but I don't know how Baker's going to look now with expectations. That's also a team that's never played with expectations. Last year, everybody gave up on them because they thought they were no good. So I want to see them play.
They snuck in on the end.
Yeah, man. The Steelers and the Ravens are consistent winners for a reason. I know you hate the Pittsburgh Steelers, but they know how to draft. There's guys that we're not talking about right now that are going to contribute day one to the Steelers. They always do it. So with everything New England got, they're not going to miss the playoffs. I just don't see it. The coaching is too good. So I would take out the Browns and put in New England. And that's what I see the playoff picture going in. As much as I love what the Browns did too, I just think Baker's going to hold them back.
Well, here's a couple of things here with Cleveland. I'm actually looking. I think Cleveland, Jason's the only one that improved themselves, because KC's the offensive line's not as good. The Ravens didn't dress wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
The Titans lost their offensive coordinator, and a wide receiver, because you guys, the Jets signed one of their guys. I mean, he was a little
Corey Davis,
first round pick. Yeah.
But he was like 900 yards last year for them. He was definitely a big part of their offense.
Yeah, absolutely. The Steelers still rolling out 1,000-year-old Big Ben. They didn't get any better. The Colts, maybe they got marginally better, but no one made Cleveland made the biggest splash as far as you said the phrase there, on paper. But the team that's not going to be in the playoffs next year is Tennessee. They lost their speaking from a team who had a dynamic offense and did things to high heights there. Derrick Henry was off the charts. Tannehill was playing better than he had before. When Shanahan left Atlanta and we didn't hold on to any piece of it, LaFleur, nothing. We didn't hold on to any piece of that offense, brought in another guy. It dropped off big time. They're going to have a big drop off. They were kind of playing above their heads anyway, because other than Henry, the talent level, Brown at wide receiver is a pretty good talent. Everybody else,
nasty,
you would say, is an overachiever. Yeah, he is nasty. Everybody else, you would say, is kind of an overachiever a little bit. They're going to be not the ones that's out of there. New England probably sneaks back in. It's hard to say Belichick's going to stay out of the playoffs more than 1 year. But I agree
with that.
Tennessee repeating.
I want to ask you this, though. I agree with that. But, what gives me cause for concern, do I trust Wentz to, seize that moment? I agree. You could potentially say they're a little weaker. But I'm not – I just think I love Wentz as a prospect. I love him so much coming out of North Dakota State. But are we to just believe 2017 is back? I don't know. That's a tough ask for me. I don't know. I can't say I wouldn't put money on it. If I was going to bet.
Yeah. Well, you've got a couple of practice games every year when you're in the South, because you got Jacksonville, so he's going to have,
and Houston this year too. Those are both free games.
And Houston, you got 2 more kind of practice games there. I just said a couple of minutes ago that I think Tennessee is going to fall off. So it's their opportunity. It's their division. If you're looking at it, and it keeps the on paper is the phrase of the day or whatever, but on paper, it's their division to seize. If he is the prospect that he was supposed to be now, if it turns out that he's just a guy like he was in Philly the last couple of years, then maybe he is just the guy, and you have another Tennessee sneaks in at 8-9 or 9-8, or maybe Trevor Lawrence is the truth. But there's a lot of stuff happening here. So Jacksonville, on paper, we were talking about playoff teams that improved themselves, but Jacksonville, although they wasted an early pick on Travis Etienne when they already had Robinson, did pretty well for themselves there as well in this last draft. So the AFC South may be a little bit competitive on the reverse side because there's no dominant team, unless Wentz is what, second overall pick. But him and Goff haven't really been that great so far out of the gate, other than those first 10 games of that season that he blew his knee out.
Remember, the Colts defense top 5 in the NFL. If you can operate like a Jimmy G there, at least stay healthy, Colts have that division. In addition, I believe the offensive coordinator or the quarterback coach the year Philadelphia won the Super Bowl is now the offensive coordinator of the Colts. Or I might be even the head coach, something like that.
Yeah, the head coach.
Any,
the head
yeah,
coach.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, anyways, I think that type of chemistry is something you can't ignore on paper, and I do believe we see a good year from Wentz. I'm not completely giving up on him just yet. Remember, he had a horrible offensive line last year. Philly had a lot of stuff going on.
No, I agree. It's a bad situation.
Yeah, so
now,
I believe
the thing that worries me about
win
Wentz,
division.
I just didn't like the mental up here with Wentz last year.
well, there's a couple of things. I think Wentz is good, not great. And now he's been hit so much, he's got a little bit of that David Carr syndrome on there, where he's looking at the pass rush instead of looking at his receivers. Mm-hmm. So if they can protect him early and get him a little bit comfortable back there, he's a big kid. He's not, afraid to take some contact, but they needed to protect him a little bit in the beginning just to get him some confidence, because he's been playing like shit for over a season now. I mean, he's got Twitter, he's got the internet. He can see everywhere that all people talking shit, that he sucks, this, that, and the other thing. He got run out of the city that drafted him there, even though half the fan base wanted him. We'll see. There's a lot of question marks there. I'm not sold on him. I think he's just okay. And apparently the Eagles front office agrees with me, because Jalen Hurts is the one that's going to be starting, when the season starts in just a couple of months here. The Heat are down 30 at the end of the third quarter here. We're about to wrap this up here. So rapid fire. Tell me who's coming out of each conference in the NBA and who the champion is going to be. Jason, you first.
Utah, Brooklyn. I'm going to go with Brooklyn.
Wow, my man going outside of the box here. A brand new, I don't know how happy the NBA will be having about Utah in the finals. Well, who you got going to the finals? Each conference in the winner.
So I got the Eastern Conference. I got Brooklyn. And in the West, I too have Utah. I think they got the easiest path to get there, just because I think the Clippers are going to choke again. If they don't choke this round, they'll choke the next one. I don't trust, even though the Clippers should beat them, they won't. The Jazz are also really deep. They're way more than Donovan Mitchell, and they play good defense. Last year when they lost, when Jamal Murray had that 50 piece, they also didn't have Bogdanovich. I think the Jazz will have the easiest path to get to the finals. So I think it'll be Jazz Brooklyn as well too. I actually got the same as Jason, and Brooklyn winning it all.
Okay, I'm different from both of you. So Milwaukee is actually going to come out of the East, and not because of Giannis. They're going to come out of the East because Middleton and Drew Holiday are going to hit big shots for them. So they're the ones with the ball in their hands in the last 2 minutes, because if they get fouled, they can actually knock a free throw down. That's why you can't have Giannis dribbling the ball around with 3 minutes left to go and a 4 or 5 point lead. Coming out of the West, this one is a head scratcher on it here, and I'm going to cross my eyes, toes, and fingers that Chris Paul stays healthy. If he stays healthy, this is Phoenix's first trip since Charles Barkley was there, his first trip to the finals, and in my opinion, Milwaukee, Phoenix, nice matchup, very entertaining. A lot of long defenders on Phoenix. A lot
the
of
NBA would hate
on
that,
both
though.
teams. Say it again?
The NBA would hate that. No big market.
The NBA would hate that. And you know something? Screw you, NBA. You've never done anything for my Knicks. So with that being said, the Heat are getting smashed. Let's go Milwaukee. Maybe that's why I'm so happy right now. I think Milwaukee's going to get to the finals, but it will be
they got
Milwaukee.
PJ Tucker too. PJ Tucker. Don't forget, that's a big addition.
PJ Tucker on that. They actually fit some nice things around Giannis to kind of hide the fact that he can't shoot a little bit. You can get him in that elbow and that high post, and he can kick it out to there. Until the fourth quarter, his free throw shooting is not really an issue. And now Middleton's their closer. He closed the first game against Miami. He's the one with the ball in crunch time. And, yep, it's still 30. Anyway, we'll see you next week Holla at your boys, Crackbacks. Nice,
All right,
fellas.
guys.
Felt good to get back in there, even though my equipment is failing me on this side over here.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring my laptop to Virginia, so I'll edit over there tomorrow night.
Word.
I got to do a
Sweet.
lot of packing and shit.
No,
All right,
sounds
guys.
good. I'm gonna holler
All
at
right,
you. I'm gonna enjoy this fourth quarter.